Alright, we're going to try this today. I have no idea how we're going to go, because it's been a while since I've done a stream. Well, a week and a bit. But it should be good to be back, and it is good to be back. So thank you if you are here watching. And I'm hopeful that... Oh, hey Mr. Landfill. Wasn't sure if you would be here straight away. Yeah, it's good to be back on. Had a good week of hunting, and I've done a few bits and pieces of prep, so let's get us going. So let's make that a bit better. So some things that you have seen previously, and I've had a bit more time working on. So this is that little Paranosauros that I had a look at last week. Pretty much finished now. Middle's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's got lovely sutures on it, so that's come out quite nicely. And then we had a Hyundai that we started on a stream as well, with a bit missing out of it, which is pretty close to being finished now. It's got a little bit just to be done. Oh, in fact, no, I've done the work, so yeah, I think that's pretty much done as well. So that's nice. I'm quite pleased with that one. And then this is one that I have had knocking around for a while. Kind of an unusual Hildy. I can't tell if this bit has broken from here and moved around, or if this is broken from pretty much where it is and just slid across. So it should have been just tight to this edge here, and it's just pulled away. And then this bit's obviously just disappeared. No idea what's happened there, but that needs a little bit of finishing still. As you can tell, not quite as tidy as it could or should be, but not far off. But the one that I really like, that I haven't had to do very much to, thankfully, is this thing, which I'm not sure if the colours are going to show quite as well as they can. Yeah, it's not looking as good as it should, but this was found at Horsker last week, and the colour preservation on it was as good as pretty much I've ever seen on anything from Yorkshire. But it's from a middle lias block rather than the upper lias, which is where we get most of our iridescence. But this is, I think, possibly an Ammonite, although the ribbing is a bit funky and it looks almost like Lito, but it's tough to say. But yeah, shiny, but it should be colourful, and I think the light's not doing it justice, unfortunately, in the box. The bright white light with a bit of paraloid or B72 put on top just doesn't do it as much justice as natural light does, but it's lovely green and blues and things. So yeah, that is one of the things that's going on. Sorry, just give it a quick dust to make it any better for you. Not really, a little bit, but not a lot. So yeah, it's a nice bit, but shame it wasn't the rest of it. The rest of it was a bit mangled by all of this, which is the calcite septarian veins. So yeah, shame, but nice to see something a bit different. I'm glad you can see at least some of it. But yeah, it looked a lot better when it first came out, and so I've tried to do my best to preserve it, but we'll see if that actually will work long term. But as I've shared in the description on the stream, we're going to have a play with some of the stuff that I found last week. Today we're going to start with some horribly difficult stuff. We're going to start with the Zoic bits that I found, what was it, almost exactly a week ago, in fact, yeah. So it was Monday last week when I was at Zoic Bay. I'm going to have a look, see. This is a pretty, I expect, mangled deck, but we can just see sort of that coppery colour from where the pyrite has just come exposed. There's a little bit visible down here as well. So it should sit pretty much in here, depending on exactly which way it whirls. But I want to just have a look at it, see what it looks like on the inside, because sometimes these copper ones look really nice. I say copper coloured, it's still iron, but it's also going to be hard as hell. So that will be an interesting one to prep. And then I've got a stack of other things, assorted decks, and there's a nice looking Hildy, which I will get to as well. So I'm going to spend some time this week cracking through the Salt Wiki bits, and possibly some of the I say possibly, we're definitely going to do at least one of the Holsker Robin Hood's Bay bits, which one of the other viewers, Debbie saw and has asked a question about whether or not it's a Paranosauros, so we'll pick that one up and have a look at that later in the week as well. But yeah, lots of DACs and DAC relatives, like lots of things like this that are sort of interesting. Quite a nice preservation again on this, a bit copper coloured, but it's not a classical chunk missing out of it. But again, nice colours, nice rib patterns. You can see quite nicely where the ribs come across. You got single ones, and then sometimes they bifurcate into two as they cross the venter. So we'll have a look, see at some of these. That one's actually got a crack running through it, so we'll have to put a bit of glue in it. But yeah, this is what we'll have a look at, some of these. Anyone who's spent any time watching the videos knows that Zoic Bay is notorious for sticky DACs, which means these are unlikely to pop very nicely, but they do occasionally go well, and so that is what we are going to live in hope for. And in the meantime, because it's a Monday, you've got classical music to keep you happy, whilst I just put some air pressure in the line to make sure that we can do any prep on this stuff. And yeah, shout any questions you have, any comments, any thoughts. Let me know how your weekends were, and yeah, I will keep reading and chatting as I can. I should also point out, if this stream doesn't instantly end up online, it's not out of the realms of possibilities that some company has decided to tell me that I'm using their music again, which would be, I think, in fact, this one, whilst I have clearly got it off of YouTube's library, which says all of it's copyright free. So if this doesn't instantly appear online, that might be why. I will continue to fight the good fight against people claiming otherwise, so we'll see. But yeah. Hey, Farcom. So today we're playing with some stuff we found last week, or I found last week at Saltwick Bay. So I'm expecting it to be hard, tricky, and all those usual things. It's a very water-worn deck in a very pyritic nodule. You might tell from the fact it's both a combination of green on the exposed surfaces and that shiny, horrible pyritic color. So it's just one of those that looked interesting because they get that coppery color shell when they're pyritic and they've been exposed for a bit of time. So the hope was just to see if this would be as nice as I thought it might be. Sadly, there's a bit missing out of here as somewhat usual. But as we're prepping it, there is a little teeny tiny one there as well. So yeah, hopefully that there's a nice little one there if we can make that work with the rest of it as we're going. And hey Katie, how are you doing today? You prepping anything fun, I hope? Solvent nodules are usually sticky. They're not this. There is not a guarantee that they are, but usually if there's a DAC in them, they're sticky. Every once in a while you'll see a lovely split, and they're the nodules that you should have a close look at, because sometimes you get zugodactylites in the ones that split well at Saltwick. And also the Hildies tend to be not super sticky, whether that's because of the ribbings or they're in a slightly different matrix level, I cannot say. But yeah, it's I'm expecting this to be reasonably tough going, but a bit like Ellie's, you sometimes get them to split along the line of the pyrite. So yeah, it just as Katie is saying, it depends if the pyrite pops cleanly. Sometimes they do, but it's tough to say, and so you don't know until we do it. But this week is hopefully just stuff we found last week as far as prep. So it'll be fun just to try and see if we can clear down some of the things that we found last week. Some will not get touched for sure. But there's plenty of bits and pieces, and if you scroll back through the stream, you'll also see some bits that I've been working on in the background and the offline times that are just getting finished slowly but surely. But yeah, so we'll get back to this one. I'll try and avoid destroying that one if I can remember, but it's a teeny tiny one. Like, let's see if I can even show it to you. Yeah, there you go. You can see how small that little one is, just visible. So we'll see. Glad to hear you seem to be prepping, Katie. Always fun to see other people's work, and look forward to seeing what you get up to. Oh, I could also give a little bit of an update. So we've been working on that Clevy block for pretty much that entire week, 2 weeks back now. That's now with Sean for him to have a look at seeing what he can do as far as finishing it and seeing if he can expose the litho and figure out if that little teeny tiny one was a litho as well. He's also got the big Hildy from Saltwick Bay to have a look at, because I think the other side will pop open as well, so he might have a look at double siding that. He's got the Pseudolioceras from Saltwick. He's got my best lobster I've ever found is being prepped, because he's done some fabulous prep work for a guy called James Gunn for a couple of his lobsters, and they came out so nicely. I thought he should have a go at my best lobster, and not many people prep lobsters from the Yorkshire coast. So seeing the quality of his work, as if we ever doubted it really, but having seen him actually prep some and the quality that they are, if that's off. What else has he got? Oh, and the Harpossers I did some prep work on one of the streams as well. The one that we got it down to pretty much the middle, but it needed some finishing off. Again, he's got it to see what he can do as far as rescuing it, and he didn't seem to think it was in too bad a shape. I think, and Katie can probably also agree with this, that we're often our own worst critics when it comes to how good or bad things look, and there is a level of finishing that can make things look even better. Like, we often see little white marks that we leave on on the fossils, but doesn't mean that they're ruined, and they can often be rescued by people with the right tools or the right finishing product. So lots of things like the wax, as we've talked about before. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they come back and see what's what when all's said and done. Yeah, me too, Katie. Me too. And there's also a few more bits that I'll be started this week as well that you won't see an awful lot of. So I found a fossil fish on Friday, and not like just a piece of bone from a fossil fish, one that's actually got a relatively defined, albeit very squished, structure to it. And not sure what it is, but I'm going to do a little bit of roughing out on that and chuck that into some acid, so that will get going as well this week. The video for that will appear on Saturday. Quite a long one actually. I went to States, which I've only fossil hunted once before a long time ago, but quite a good hunt. Not a lot to be brought home, but a really interesting hunt for just exploring a new area. So yeah, it'll be good to see that all back, and it'll be yeah, nice to see what Sean can do with all the other bits. Unfortunately, some of them, I say some, a lot will probably end up straight on the website, just because I'll have to try and pay for the prep somehow. So if anyone ever wants to buy anything, please check out the website, cufffossils.com. Check out the shop section. There's always some goodies there, some very high quality stuff, some stuff prepped by me which is not so high quality prep, but as you were watching, it's getting better each week. So anyway, more prep. So yeah, this was even more interesting than had first been thought. Unfortunately, not a lot we can do about it, but hopefully you can just about see there's shell here, and this is actually a little tiny piece of shell here from another ammonite, and I suspect that this shell here, the bigger bit, was part of a much bigger ammonite, probably mouth border sort of section or body chamber, which is now gone, and it's had a little one, this one, wash into it. But unfortunately also gone now, and so we just got this little tiny bit of shell remnant on both sides. It's going to get obliterated just because no value whatsoever to keeping them. It's interesting to see, but doesn't add anything to the piece, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm just going to remove them both, but you guys get to just see them before I do so. But yeah, the other little one is still there. I'm going to try and keep that one in place because that one actually does belong and looks potentially interesting, although it is shiny as all heck, which says it's super pyritic. That one, that one may explode just based on the nature of the Zoic stuff, but we'll see. Oh, this one doesn't want to finish. Just bear with us for 1 second. I need to have a quick look at something that's just shown up to see if it's an apticus or an anapticus, or if it's just a little bivalve. I think it's just a little bivalve, but we can show it off too, hopefully, here. So just this little thing right here, little shiny thing, and I think it's just a little shiny bivalve. But it's always worth keeping an eye out for, because the ammonite mouth parts, or at least the thing that people think are mouth parts, do sometimes show up either in association with the ammonites they've come from or near to the ammonites. They are very rare if they're in the ammonite themselves, but it would be cool to see one in place or near. But I do not believe that is one, so it'll go away as well. But yeah, that's why I just had to stop and have a look. Yeah, it is very tough to tell with ammonite and apticai whether they are that or bivalves, and mostly because they share a common ancestry. They grow in a similar sort of format, and so you end up with sort of rings, not quite like a tree, but not far off. If you think of like a mussel shell, like at its smallest state, it's like this, but then to add more, it kind of has to add a ring, a disc, and it just kind of adds more and more discs. And ammonite and apticai, or apticai pluralized, they do the similar thing, and so you can see as they're growing, They have those very distinct sort of growth lines that show as they get bigger and bigger. And so yeah, it is very tricky to tell, particularly for little teeny tiny things when we're playing with like, what's that, a couple mil size ones. That's why I quite like the big ammonite and applica. Very, very easy to tell what they are, but the little ones, very tricky. Especially when they're in situ and slightly not exposed or not fully exposed. And, yeah. And just if you're watching, this isn't me dinging the ammonite. This is that partial body chamber that we had with the little ammonite in it, just now exposing both sides of it. So this is one edge of it here. This is the second edge of it here. So it's just where it links up, and it's going to start looking like I'm ripping out part of the ammonite that I'm actually after. But this is all sat on top of it, so we'll just have to take it out anyway to get to the ammonite we're interested in. hard going. Not super surprising, but hard going. We're getting to pretty much the limits of where we can possibly have an ammonite. A mouth border is somewhere in here. I'm pretty sure it's going to whirl this way, just based on the size of the whirls. So yeah, we are getting to the point that it should hopefully start to go a bit quicker, but it is very slow going, I appreciate, and some of this is very sticky. We've got interesting, like, I don't know how much you'll be able to see, but some super shiny speckly bits in here, amongst the hard pyritic skin, with then this lighter limestone, which is a bit easier and fragments a bit more. So it's a bit of everything, just to keep you on your toes as you're going. Parts of the next world in are there, so yeah, it's looking all right as far as they go, but it's hard going. It's just taking time, but it's at least not an outrageously tough prep in terms of difficulty, in terms of the matrix being stuck to it. It's just slow. So we'll get on with it. Right, so it's going pretty well. For all the talk of sticky saltwork decks, and there are parts of it that are definitely sticky, it's cleaning pretty well. The outer shell layers are basically popping off with the pyrite, and so you get that really, really nice, smooth, clean shell preservation, or I say shell preservation, but I think it's probably the internal mold preservation. That little one looks all right too, so it's pretty good going as far as we can hope for these things. About as good as you'll get saltwick preservation. So that's pleasing. There's quite a lot to still do. Some, if not all, will have to probably start going under magnification. I'll see if I can do a little bit more here and see if we can get down into the next whirls. That might be on the 1.5 mil, and then yeah, we might struggle to do any more on it today without compromising the stream quality, because I'll then end up with the ammonite down the bottom of the screen as I put it under magnification. So we'll see what we can do before I need to do that, and then yeah, we'll just have to pick up another one, and I will then try and finish that preparation off tomorrow morning before the stream starts, so then we can see what it looks like when it's all said and done. Yeah, I love when there's a little cheeky chappy hanging out with it as well. Even better when you don't know that they're there and they come out as a surprise and you haven't exploded them instantly. There's one that I always show off in one of my early preps that I did, not on stream but on my own time, right when I first got the AirPen, and it's again a little cheeky chappy just chilling out on top. And then you have a fun game of trying to figure out how much matrix you can remove whilst keeping it in the right place. And probably the best way to do it is you do what you can on one side and then turn it over and finish the other side. But I think for the one that we're working on here, it's going to be sufficiently offset that the middle should still be visible here. So that should be hopefully okay. But yeah, we will see. I've got the magnification up, so I will just see if the second camera is going to behave. Yeah, so just to explain why things sometimes go a bit awry, here is the ammonite, here's the other camera that's filming it, and the magnification is here, so that's looking down into the box. The problem is when I'm prepping a lot of things, I need to get it under the magnification, but the downside is it tends to pull the ammonite off the bottom of the field of view, and so if that happens, I do apologize. I'm not doing it deliberately. I'm not doing it deliberately to be difficult. It is just the nature of trying to prep the ammonites in the setup I have, and so if it does happen like that, I apologize. And as I said, I will do what I can on the stream, and there is a fairly good chance that I will have to finish it without showing you, just because it'll get too difficult to have a good quality stream, and that's just the trade-off. Yeah, and Mr. Landfill has it all ready to go, his little copy-paste job. So thank you very much for that info, and I'm glad that exists as a written form. So. Right, so we have got pretty much down to the middle, like, as pinpoint as I can get with the Maya 1.5mm. For at least the big one. The little one needs a little bit of work still to figure out what I can do, because it is teeny tiny. But yeah, it's actually really good quality shell, or at least calcite preservation on the bigger one. So that's yeah, I do love a surprisingly good deck, and it's part of the reason you don't give up on them just because they're from Zoic. Sometimes you do get some good ones. I'll have a look and see if I can do this one. I don't believe you guys have lost too much footage from me trying to do the magnification, so let me just see if I can do anything with this quickly, and if not, we'll just have to call it quits on that ammonite for now. But yeah, I'd say I'm quite pleased with that. What I will say though is that little one, that middle, is really tricky. I've just had a look, and yeah, that doesn't pop like the rest did. So I have a decision to make about whether or not to just take it off and just leave it with the one, or try and see if that at least will cover with some wax to make it look acceptable. But it's, yeah, not great. Unfortunately, being sat so full of pyrite, it's just not come out very quickly or cleanly. Yeah, to wear a Microraptor or something that's got a finer tip than the 1.5mm would have been really useful. Anyway, we'll put this one aside for now anyway, because it needs some grinding, some brutalizing, some generic work to make it look pretty. So we will do that in a bit, but we'll do that off stream, because it just makes it easier for everyone involved if we do the little tiny fine things and the grinding and everything off stream, just to make it a bit more interesting. Because otherwise we spend an hour looking at me just slowly removing layers and layers of rock where there is no fossil. Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Landfill, I probably will keep the little one, at least for now, as I tidy it up, the whole block, and just see what it looks like. But we will see. So I'm going to switch over. This is a little Hildy that came from Saltwick as well. Bit of an unusual one, because it would look to be whirling around this way, and at some point the bit on the outer edge, which should have been here, has broken away. So a bit unusual, but at the same time, as demonstrated by the other one I'm prepping, or have done at least partial prep, not completely unusual for chunks to fall away or be in the wrong spot. So yeah, it's just part and parcel of Hildies. Sometimes they break and those bits go wandering around the blocks, and so that's what we'll have a look at, is this little Hildy. I'm just going to swap out the 1.5 to the 2mm tip. I apologize if you hear the door banging in the wind. I've actually got a lovely day, so the door's wide open here, but it is rattling when we get a nice little gust of breeze, which I'm very thankful that we've got the breeze, because otherwise it would be getting quite warm. So yeah, we've got Hildy. I don't need to be under magnification, so we'll move that out the way a little bit. Yeah, so Hildy's from Zoic usually, or I'm going to caveat that, usually are decent. This one's got a fairly pronounced groove running around the side here, which you can hopefully all see. This groove here, which makes it likely a bifrons rather than a Lusitanicum, which is the other, I would say common, but the more common one. Lusitanicum tend to be the ones that get really big, and so the big one that I found on the same day as this is likely a Lusitanicum, but it's all determined by this groove. At least I say all determined. That is the easiest way to tell them apart, is if it's got a deep groove, a pronounced groove, it's probably a bifrons. So that's what we're working with. Katie, glad to hear your Hildy turned out nice. Is that the one that you found at Saltwick and weren't sure about whether you should keep it or not, and you almost chucked it? Right, big reveal. Do we reckon it's gone all the way down to the middle perfectly or not? Knock that little bit off, because no one cares about that little bit. Boo! Oh, not quite down to the middle. That tends to mean that the middle is not well preserved. But we'll have a look, see. It does make life easier when the Hildy mids pop like that. And that's why I do love prepping them. And so yeah, we will just finish tidying up the little bits and pieces around the edge here. I am unlikely to chase trying to prep this bit here. But yeah, we will probably just prep the edge around here just to tidy this off. And then prep into something resembling a functional mouth border. Oh, as a Yes, so yeah, it is great when the middles all pop out nice. It saves, as you said, a metric bucket load of time. We had a pretty decent one with the Perinoceros 2 weeks back. Katie, glad the little ones also got a middle and is lovely. We will have a look, see if this middle is exposable. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But yeah, as I said, I'll just tidy the edge around this, which shouldn't take too long, as I've just saved a bucket load of time with that one. So happy days. Sorry, just was having a little look because obviously it's got a fairly nice preservation all the way around. That lovely colouring on it is beautiful. But I was trying to see about this middle, what's going on with it. And it's got a weird thing which is fairly typical of Hilda's, where the middle basically just goes flat. And some of this is probably that I haven't removed enough matrix, but some of it I'm pretty sure is because the this shell, which you can see here, this light coloured stuff, this comes across nearly that entire middle disc when they get to a certain size. And you end up then having a fun game of trying to figure out how to remove it, if it's worth removing or not, and if there's anything underneath it. And yeah, sometimes trying to play all the way down to the middle, it doesn't always work, but there's at least a little bit more I can do a bit tidying here just to see if it might go, but that's just where I'm at the minute with it. Yeah, I'm not sure it'll get any better than it is, which is a bit of a shame because, yeah, it's a nice little one. But I'll tidy up that edge at least whilst I'm here, and then yeah, that'll just get finished off in a little bit off camera. But yeah, nice and quick. Well, I like them when that one took all of what, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But yeah, this is where I wish I had an abrader too, because yeah, this whole thing would just get a quick spritz and see if it would just take that little shaly, rusty layer off. But I do not have one of those, so it just exists as is. And I have a debate at some point whether or not, and I probably should, seeing it's pretty much all the way around, to just actually get that level all the way around, just to finish it off appropriately. But it gets a bit funky with obviously that broken bit of shell there. But yeah, it'll do for now. Add that to the two from today pile, and then I've got an hour. Is there anything I reckon I might be able to do in an hour? Oh, I've got another Hildy. It's not a particularly good Hildy, but it caught my attention. So hopefully you can just see it. The ammonite's here. And the keel is very distinct. It's that sort of groove, keel, groove on each side and the ridges, and so you get sort of a distinctive M-ish shape on them. And I've hit it to try and reduce the nodule because it was in quite a big thing, but we'll just try and tidy this corner off and just see what we've got here in the next hour before I've got to finish up, feed the dog, go get the baby, all those life admin-y things. But perfectly doable if the Hildy behaves like the last one did, which no guarantee. But just swap the tip, we're back on the 2mm just for the roughing bit, and yeah. I am just going to put a spritz of glue on this. I say a spritz, a little couple of drops of it. So there is a crack running across here that you may or may not just be able to see. But that runs across and into where I think this line is here on this ammonite, which I think is starting to give, because I can see little bits of shell break away intermittently. And so I am a little concerned that it's going to all go in one fell swoop, and I don't particularly want that. I don't mind if my chunks all go when I want them to go, but I do not want them going before I am ready for them to go. So. The downside of that means it probably won't pop cleanly now because it's going to be super well adhered, so that's the trade-off. When I say super well adhered, it may also do the opposite thing and just all peel with the shell, which we have seen a few times. So we will see. But just give me 1 second. I've got a new blower which blows compressed air when you squeeze it. So just going to put a bit of fresh air across this, see if that will just speed it up, because super glue sets with moisture, and obviously the air in England has quite a bit of moisture in it. So. Alright, so it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be, I have to say. I thought at one point this was going to be mouth border here, but as you can see it wraps around. The downside is most of this section after where I thought mouth border is broken. So might just be able to see there's a line of shell here that goes up and then there's a gap, and so this section is broken, and then there's a section over here that's I'm pretty sure is broken, and then there's a calcite vein running through it, possibly linked to where I had suspicions that that crack ran through on the other side. So yeah, it looks like this isn't, well, it may be mouth border original, but I'm not convinced it is on this side. Yeah, it's broken up here, but we will still tidy it up and just see what we've got. There's still hints that the middle goes down a bit further as well, so yeah, it's got potential to be, if not a perfect ammonite, at least an interesting one. And I do like the speckle that you get on the shells on some of them, the calcite, the brown and white calcite. So we'll just switch tips over to probably the 1.5 mil just to do this last little bit. It's still going to take me probably the next 20 minutes just to see where we're up to. And then, yeah, we will finish up for the day, but we'll be back again tomorrow and throughout the week to do a lot of prep, hopefully. And I hope that they're all generally as successful as they've been today, even if they're not perfect ammonites. They have generally got something resembling a middle and are a lot better than some of the Ravenscar bits, so yeah, can't complain. Right, it's taken longer than I thought it was going to, because it turns out not as broken as I thought it might be. When I saw these bits not fully clean, when I popped them, I had suspicions they were broken there, but in fact it's a weird line that's right on the edge that's basically broken all the way around. It's where these should connect to the what would be the venter or the keel, as the case may be. And so we've just got basically a break that runs right on that edge all the way around. That middle will still be cleaned a bit further. It does clean better than I've left it at the minute. I'm struggling to get my eyes to focus on the center, but there is more of it there than it's currently showing, because I can see just another whirl on that edge at the top there, so that will tidy further. Yeah, unfortunately it's gonna have to be where I'm going to call it today. But yeah, it's not been a bad one. That's should tidy fairly well and look interesting, at least with that break, depending on how we can prep it. Shame the mouth border is not going to look anything close to original, but that's how it goes. But then with, where did I put those other two bits? So with that and that, it's not been a bad day. So yeah, it's not too shabby. Work to be still done on all of them to finish them up, but I'll try and get that done before stream tomorrow, and if not, it'll happen at some point. But yeah, fairly pleased with that for a day's worth of work, having not done any proper prep for a little bit. Let's see if we can get them all to show. So yeah, fairly good day all around. There we go. And a messy box, which means that we've done a lot of matrix removal. So yeah, good day all around, and I am pleased, and I wish, yeah, as I say, it's also quite fun just to see the difference in preservation, because as I said, Zoic has a reputation, and I will also work with that reputation for really sticky matrix, and the DACs tend to split terribly. But as that one showed, sometimes they are worth prepping, because you do get really nice preservation in them still. You just have to hope that the matrix comes away. So yeah, a bit of everything. I think that's a bifrons. I'd be inclined to call this also a bifrons, but it might be a Lusitanicum. That the groove is not as pronounced as in the top one, this little one. But yeah, two Hildies, probably both bifrons, and then yeah, a DAC. Probably Athleticum, but a commune, but I need to spend a bit more time making sure I can identify the difference between those two. But yeah, cheers all, thanks for coming to my Monday stream. With the classical music, we'll be back to whatever random mix of music we've got tomorrow, and we'll be back doing some more prep work. So a big thank you for everyone coming out, for watching. For those of you participating in chats, even more appreciated, and I would say make sure you give the video a like, and don't be afraid to comment if the video is still there and hasn't been copyright striked by some random German company pretending that I'm stealing some Russian version of one of these songs. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Check out carfossils.com for shops and tours if you're interested. And yeah, thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.